Okay, guys, welcome. I'm Amanda Dumas, and I am a Rising Silver Leader with doTERRA. I live in Orlando, Florida, and one of the fun things about that is I've been able to develop a really fun community here who's involved in empowering people through education, and just kind of building kind of a more courageous community who's willing to try things that are kind of outside the sphere of you know typical standard medical care. And also one of the things I love about it is all the things that my community is involved in doing has a real spirit of service to start with. So when I am doing a webinar like this, I recognize that some of the people are far flung, maybe even a different time zone, maybe have never heard much about essential oils before. Some people are already, currently using their doTERRA products and loving them and just want one or two extra little bits of information about how to do something, more specific. And so as and trying to do like an idea of service for you guys, I would really like to address a wide range of concerns. If you guys do have questions that are specific, I would like to invite you guys to type them into the chat bar. The things that I plan to go over today not only are applicable to children, meaning like school-age kids, but also I feel like this is really important information for people who work in an office who are still concerned with germs that they come in contact with by seeing a lot of people shaking a lot of hands every day, or like when you're talking about just maybe even being an entrepreneur and needing a little bit of self-motivation or mood management, knowing how to do those kinds of things, the same that we would try to encourage our kids to be able to, focus and feel motivated to do projects and things like that. The same thing applies for grown-ups. And there's very easy ways to tailor your recipes and things like that we're going to be talking about today, that I'm calling back to school essentials, meaning thinking of kids that are school age. But please don't guess that the college age and the adults can't use some of these recipes as well. We would just modify them slightly to get a little bit stronger dilution rate so that they apply for grown-ups as well. And I can talk through how to do that as well. But if you do have questions about that specifically, please do type them into the chats. I will try to get to them specifically at the end before we jump off. My goal is to make this something like a say like 35 to 40 minute kind of a lesson of the content portion. But to also leave a few minutes if we need to answer some questions there at the end. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and start kind of jumping into this. And my first thing would be, go ahead and think of some of those health concerns that you have for either your school-age kids or your, yourself as you're working in a job situation or college age, and this goes all the way from preschool to 80-year-olds really. But if you do have some specific concerns, I hope I'll be talking about them. Really quick, 3 minutes to go over some of the basics in case some of the people watching are brand new, and that would be what is an essential oil, how do they work, and how do I get them in my home? So those are kind of the basics of how you're going to look at this. Essential oils are very potent compounds that are distilled from the leaves, stems, and roots of plants. If you guys have ever looked at say like walked by a peppermint plant or a rosemary plant and just kind of let your fingers touch the leaves of that plant, you'll notice that they come away smelling like peppermint or like rosemary. And the reason for that is because there's tiny itty bitty oil sacs that are on those leaves, and when you touch them, they burst onto your fingers, and that's how you get that essential oil on your fingers. And it's when they distill it and put it into a bottle, doTERRA works very hard to keep all of the fabulous constituents very potent and completely pure, not even diluted at all, and definitely not using any synthetics. And so they just take those oil sacs and get them all collected through a couple distillation methods. Now, it does matter. I'm going to tell you, not all essential oils are equal. You are going to want to look for something that has a CPTG rating, that's certified pure therapeutic grade. And the reason for that is because those would be the only ones that you could expect the very highest rigorous quality testing. The company doTERRA specifically, I'm going to have to recommend, because they really have set the bar as far as transparency goes. A lot of other companies will even advertise on their website, oh, we do the same process as doTERRA. Well, I can tell you some more info about that, but do, at least even from their claims, come to the realization that doTERRA has set the bar as far as purity and potency go with this CPTG rating. So if you're going to use something that's really, really effective, that's what you're going to want to find. So also doTERRA is very concerned with making empowering solutions, so getting some of these essential oils into your home and helping you know how to use them. So that's part of what this webinar is about, to actually get some of that education portion and empowerment, because I hate stories about people who've got some essential oils from this place or that place or something, and they just sit in a drawer for years and years because nobody actually taught them how to use them. It sounds like a great idea, but if you're not empowered to actually use it, it's doing no good, and that just makes me so sad. Because just one drop is all that's needed to achieve a powerful benefit when you're talking about a really high quality oil, it's important to know how to use it, and that also kind of goes into well, okay, I'll tell you one more thing too. Well, two more things. Co-impact sourcing. If you don't mind crying, look up some of the co-impact sourcing stories that doTERRA does, where with a very global view of our world and how it works, and really striving for sustainability, and to really help, like doTERRA is into like making cooperatives of small groups of farmers. They want them to band together to get the highest quality practices and share info with each other and things like that. And doTERRA is paying most of their co-impact sourcing places somewhere between 8 to 10 times the going rate that other perfumeries and things like that would pay for essential oils. There are a lot of things that I could tell you about the co-impact sourcing, but YouTube is a great way to figure out a couple things. So if you do doTERRA co-impact sourcing, and take a look at some of that, you'll end up with a wealth of information of specifically where things are coming from and how it's affecting our global community. There's also the Healing Hands Foundation, which is, more awesome, ways to make you cry. So when you have a high quality oil, how do you use it? So what are they? We talked about how do you use them. You have three methods of using the high quality oils. You can either do a aromatic application, which I have my diffuser going, and right now I also in just being able to kind of spritz some, from a spray bottle into the air. That's kind of an aromatic application because we're breathing it in. But even just putting a drop on my hand and rubbing it together and doing the cup and huff is one of my favorite things to call it. You cup your hand and kind of breathe it in. Now, if you guys actually had some peppermint with you right now, you would really be able to feel like the effects of some of that opening up of the passageways. It's really, really wonderful. So when we're doing that aromatic application, those are some ways that we do that. If we're doing a topical application, you most likely will want to dilute it, especially if it's going over, certain areas of the body. And Also, like, because we're talking about kiddos, you are going to most likely want to make roller bottles, because for a child, 1 drop is kind of overload. Less than a drop is needed. And 1 drop of peppermint, for example, is equivalent to 28 cups of peppermint tea, when we're talking about the leaves and things like that. So obviously, like, if your child is struggling with a tummy ache or headache or things like that, and you're going to give them some peppermint tea to help that kind of, feelings go away, then you wouldn't need a full 28 cups to be able to achieve some of that. So we definitely want to dilute. And so I'm going to talk a lot about some roller bottles or some recipes to make some sprays, because topical application is fantastic, but we do want to just respect the fact that the children and possibly the elderly, or even just people with sensitive skin, are going to need just a proper dilution, just to be thoughtful that there's no sensitization. And then the third way is internal. And I beg you, I plead you, do not use one of the essential oils internally that doesn't have the supplemental facts that are here that say specifically, for internal use, dilute 1 drop in 4 fluid ounces of liquid. So that tells you, now there's many different ways to actually use this internally, but the fact that it mentions internal use, that's a sign that it has been through the proper testing, and you do not want to ingest something essential oil wise. It can be disruptive to hormones and things like that if it's not pure, if it has a lot of synthetics in it or other contaminants. So internally, we may like to put a drop or 2 in our water to drink it. Love doing that with all the citrus oils. We could also make up a little capsule. I actually have some up here that you open up the capsule and put a couple drops of essential oils in. And especially this is, very effective if you're trying to treat something more acute that's going on. And then I sometimes, or my husband also, we enjoy, there's a couple of essential oils that go well just right under the tongue with a sublingual application. And again, don't do any of that kind of stuff with something that you buy from some random company or offline or something like that. Okay, so that was about the basics. So to go into what we're actually, like, our goal is to learn about how to use the doTERRA oil specifically for things that we would need in school. And so number one, usually what people tell me is there's just so many germs. It's just so much, concern for getting those immune systems boosted and keeping down like the flow of cold and flu and things like that. So I would say all of the products that have On Guard in them are going to be one of the primary things that you're going to be looking for. There's doTERRA is fantastic about putting this in several different methods. So there's hand soaps that I know. I have a couple friends who are teachers, and they feel like it's worthwhile for them to bring that doTERRA hand soap with the pump and things like that into their classroom, because it really does keep down the flow of germs, and it does not contain all the triclosan and triclosan. I could go into all things. I'm trying to think what sodium lauryl sulfate is another one. So there's a lot of the bad things that are kind of being banned today from the antibacterial soaps, and they're discovering that we really should not be using those things the way that we do. And thankfully, the doTERRA soaps and things like that work totally different than the junk that's most commonly out there. So do feel free good about using that. We also have some of the cough drops these days, which are amazing. So if you are specifically, noticing that one of your kids is headed out to school, and you know that they're past a sickness, but they just keep having this urge to cough, there are some of the On Guard cough drops, which are amazing. So I highly recommend. And another one that I want to go ahead and show you guys is from the kids kit. It's called Stronger. And this one is interesting because although it has, it would be like a protective blend, just like On Guard, but it's made specifically for kiddos, in that it doesn't have any hot oils in it. It's got cedarwood, lychee, frankincense, and rose. But this acts as like a big immune stimulant to help people, fight off some of the bacteria and things like that. Whereas the On Guard has a lot more of the clove and cinnamon and eucalyptus and wild orange kind of thing to it. So it's got a lot of hot oils. So this is very nicely already diluted. This is not a pure essential oil, whereas the On Guard is, but it is a already ready for kids. I should probably go ahead and mention that actually. So there is a kids kit that you guys can check into. It's right around $100, I think, to get all 6 of them, and they come in a cute little kit with an informative and worded in children's speak explanation of how to use them. I have found these to be really, really empowering for my kids. And I have another teacher friend who also has been having these, of course, with approval, signed papers from the parents. But it's people that have these available for the kids to come up and say, I don't feel like I can focus. I think I need some of the thinker, or I just can't seem to sit down at my desk and pay attention right now. I have all of these distractions, I think I need some steady. And to be able to let the kids choose something like that, or before they're actually going to give a presentation, being able to use some Brave. And I can tell you guys some stories about using these with my own kids. I mean, I could make this go on all day because of some of these kinds of things. Also, when kids are upset by something, maybe something tragic, or having a fight with a buddy or something like that, Calmer is really great. That's also something that my kiddos really enjoy using before they go to bed to ensure that they have a more restful night's sleep. Stronger, which I already mentioned, is the 5th one, and that's great for, if you feel a little something coming on, being able to just rub it along the lymph nodes or on the spine. And then the last one is Rescuer, and this one would be a really fantastic alternative to the Deep Blue. If you guys have much awareness of the doTERRA product called Deep Blue, it's really, really great for joints and muscles and things like that. And we love it for topical application. It's what we call like the gateway oil for husbands, really. But Rescuer would be a little bit different in that it doesn't have the super strong peppermint and things like that in there. So this one has copaiba as the first ingredient, such a beautiful sweet oil. Lavender is in there, spearmint, and xanthoxylum. And these ones, I would say, if you're talking about growing pains, or I actually love how it describes it in the sweet little book. If you guys, it says, after running, jumping, and playing, rub Rescuer onto your legs, feet, or back to soothe your active body. And I love that it has it in kids speak. And this one really is very, very effective and nice to keep around for kids who are very active or just growing, one of those. So all of those, that whole set is super, super great. But I know you're wondering, like, well, I'm a grown-up. Is that useful for me? Yes. I could tell you stories about how I feel like Brave kind of saved me, and just was able to take me over the edge in terms of, like, I may not have actual like anxious feelings in meeting people. But there are always times that I feel more confident than others. And so the times when I don't feel very confident, I find that is a really big impact. I would say the other one that I use the most is Thinker. So probably Thinker and Brave are the two that as a grown-up, I feel like these are really great for me. Now, I'm going to take a little side note and let you guys know about the Intune. This has been what I have loved to use for the focus prior to doTERRA coming out with the kids version. And I definitely, by far, way in advance, I love the smell of Thinker compared to Intune. Intune has just a little bit more like patchouli-ish. Now, they both have vetiver in them. I think they both have frankincense as well. Oh, I'm wrong. They don't. The Intune does have frankincense, and so it's sandalwood, patchouli, frankincense, lime, ylang ylang, Hawaiian sandalwood, and Roman chamomile. And the other one is vetiver, peppermint, clementine, and rosemary. So either one of these are really great. Remember, this one, because it's in the kids kit, is already diluted, so there's not going to be any sensitization on your skin, and you can feel safe being able to, use this on a kiddo. If you're using this as an adult, you just use twice as much, or like put it on your temples and the back of your neck instead of just the back of your neck or whatever. The Intune is not diluted, so often you may find yourself wanting to make your own separate roller bottle, where you would pop this top off and get a few drops out to put in the bottom of a different roller bottle. And maybe you might add other things to it as well, or you could just put in, say like 20 drops or something like that, and fill the rest with fractionated coconut oil, and that would be your diluted kids version versus the grown-up pure one. Okay, so we've covered germs, we've covered focus. And well, I guess I did a little smattering with a little bit of motivation too here, but I got to pop in and let you know about a couple motivating things. So the Brave I already mentioned, which is fantastic. That's the orange colored one. doTERRA also puts out Motivate, and this is in the diluted touch roller as well. It's not necessarily meant for kids, but it is pre-diluted, and because it's meant to go on topically. You can also get the if you want to diffuse it, which is another one if you're a teacher, or if you guys are do homework sessions at home, or if you work in your office and you can take your diffuser to work with you and diffuse the Motivate, you really will be surprised at how much more you get done. But so for the topical use here, I would suggest that if you're going to use it with kiddos, that you do dilute it more than what's diluted here. It does have some hot oils in it. So things, let's see, it goes peppermint, clementine, coriander, basil, yuzu, melissa, rosemary, and vanilla. So I think it must be, I don't know, it must be the clementine or maybe the yuzu. I'm not sure what it is, but it definitely, it gives like a little pop of feeling. Like I can always tell where I put it on, because it might be the peppermint. It's probably peppermint in here as well. But that's, so I would say dilute it if you're using it for kiddos. Also, I've had a lot of success putting this one into a spray, just a few drops of it into a glass bottle with some water. Becomes a really great room spray as well. Okay, so so that is some kind of the motivation and mood management kind of things. You also may want to. I'm going to give you guys a recipe at the end. I do have a handy little Healthy Kids Blend kind of recipe sheet. I really like. There's one that is like to have a happy day or to wake up happy kind of a thing. I like Balance, Wild Orange, Peppermint, and then if I'm feeling really I need to get the things going, I put in a little bit of frankincense as well. So it's balance, wild orange, peppermint, and frankincense. That's really, really great in the mornings, or if you also need an afternoon pick-me-up, say you come back after lunch and everybody seems like really sluggish or whatever, that's a great time to go ahead and, bring out that, either spray form, or I like to have, like in a roller bottle of things that I make up ahead of time. This becomes as easy as like, hey buddy, I know you had a rough night last night, but we still got to do school today. Let's go ahead and roll some of this on your wrist creases, and let me put some on the back of your neck, and let's go ahead and breathe it in. And it really does, like the wild orange being the oil of abundance, really it gives this whole different view of how the day is going to go. And the peppermint is so awakening, and the frankincense just increases all the mental clarity. And the balance is just very settling and grounding to make people a little less likely to have the ups and downs. I know for me specifically, I do not get up from bed without putting balance on the bottoms of my feet. I highly recommend you don't let your kids do that. Don't go very long during the day before they get low of balance, and frankincense onto their body and working in their system as well. So this would be the kind of thing that you guys would want to either have, like a roller bottle set maybe next to the breakfast table, or where you keep your keys or your backpack or things like that. Have it available to be able to use right where you need it. Okay, so don't do the kind of thing where like you just keep them in the drawer and think like, well, I'll just use it if I need it. Go ahead and get some of the On Guard, Balance, Wild Orange, frankincense. Get those kinds of things set up where you're going to remember to put them on, because that's part of the big deal with school is it happens almost every day, like obviously not the weekends, but even then, sometimes if you're trying to do big projects, it's a really good way to just have as part of the routine and keep that going. Okay, so we talked about germs, we talked about managing mood, we talked about motivation. Oh, can I tell you guys about some of the other things? So a big impact into how kids' school and things like that situations go is how they are sleeping. We mentioned how they wake up, but let's also talk a bit more about how they can sleep better. And I did already say about the Calmer, which is really, really awesome. You'll find that's kind of heavier on the lavender side. So I find it's really, really easy to get a girl to put put this on. Lavender, Kananga, Buddha wood, which is very similar to frankincense, and Roman chamomile. So it comes out being really, really a nice smell. So some other options that you guys might want to look into as well, things that you may already have at home if you don't yet have the kids kit or something like that. You may want to look into using a blend of lavender, frankincense, and lemon or wild orange can really help with the sleep cycle. I know we just mentioned wild orange for helping to awaken, but I find it's really great also just to keep happy dreams and things like that. And I have to go ahead and make a special plug for cedarwood. Cedarwood is so fantastic. I really like it's, I guess we call it like a slightly more manly scent. It's a woody oil. And so I find it's really easy for me to convince my boys, kids. I have 5 children. 4 of them are boys. And so cedarwood is really great for calming and keeping everybody, like on the, just a little less crazy during nighttime. I love having some vetiver, cedarwood, and then sometimes I'll do either frankincense or Roman chamomile with it for sleep. And if you really want to like gear it up and guard against some of those bad dreams, I'm going to throw in the fact that juniper berry is the oil of the night, and it really does just help things go smoother. For that kind of thing. So definitely do cedarwood. Part of the other reason I'm mentioning it is because this particular month, which I'm recording here, this is August of 2019. So if you're watching this later, it may not be an active promotion, but doTERRA is doing 10% off for the cedarwood this particular month, and that means that it's something silly like between $11 and $12. It's like $11.70 or something like that. So very affordable, the kind of thing that you feel good about diffusing. You'll find this also works well in combination with like Melaleuca and possibly rosemary if you're trying to make a spray that's related to keeping away some of the little buggers that may bother you during school time hours with an itching head. When you're using, especially if you can like preventatively make, like this is some gold here, you guys. If you have school age children, like this may not apply for office work or something, but school age children, I highly recommend, if there's anything going around or you've had issues with it before, you don't want to be the family that causes the big alert for itchy scalp issues and things like that. So you're going to want to make a spray. It can be super diluted, but cedarwood, Melaleuca, rosemary, or even if you only have Melaleuca, if you only have cedarwood, or you only have like however many things you have, make a spray bottle and label it and keep it next to your On Guard for like when you're putting that on the back of your kiddos' necks before they go to school, or next to the balance, things like that. Keep it around. Just give the top of their head a shake and a squirt. Now, dilution rate for this, because you're going to be using it on a daily basis, it doesn't really have to be strong. You could do as simple as 5 drops of each, like 15 drops total. Maybe make it 20 drops total, add a little extra Melaleuca to it. And even in something like a 2-ounce spray bottle like this, with most of it being water, shaky shake and spray on the kid's head just once or twice, and that will keep the little buggers from bothering anybody. Okay, and then okay, so that's the other thing. And then lastly, I feel like I really need to talk to you guys about nutrition. Everybody is normally a little bit cognizant that we need to feed our kids good food, but we can always fall short. As mother of 5, I can tell you, even when I have super high ideals, and we do a lot to try to keep things super clean, keeping out the processed food, and shopping the perimeter of the store, getting only the healthy stuff. And but I really have been pretty impressed at how my kids' sleep cycles, how their digestion, how their thought patterns, how their moods, all of these things really seem to be impacted by their nutrition rate. And so I find like the months when I'm like being lazy and not ordering these, or be like, oh, well, I don't know if I should, toss that in my cart this particular month. It gets harder, and you don't realize it until you start to have a lot of experience with it. Say like you've been giving your kiddos some of these kinds of things for like a couple months in a row, and then you have them go off of them for a month or something like that, and you're like, what happened to my kids? I thought I had stuff going well, and now so and so is always struggling with digestion, and I have this, that. And so I find long term these are not skippable, and I think it's really, really important, especially if your kids are having several general problems, and I feel like that's really, really important to make sure that we're paying attention to their nutritional needs as well. And honestly, there's a certain way to order this. If you already have your doTERRA account and you know how to order with the loyalty rewards method, if you don't know how, I can help you with that. Even if you're not on my team, send me an email. It's enamoredwithnature@gmail.com. I'm happy to support you just for the sake of empowerment and, acts of service and all that kind of stuff. Use what you have. In terms of like, if you already have your account, I want to help you be able to know how to use that, even if it doesn't benefit me somehow. But there is a way to order these where it costs $20 to get both of them. That's pretty amazing, right? $20 to get like both of these. Yes, thank you. You're not going to find something that's a higher quality for any cheaper anywhere. Okay. So that, and then one other thing I thought I might go ahead and mention is about the seasonal issues. A lot of kiddos and grown-ups as well may get like the watery eyes and runny nose and itchiness and stuff like that, just depending on what kind of seasons are coming in and out. And so you would really want to know about the lemon, lavender, peppermint combo, and that becomes important. Especially if they're severe enough that you are looking to have some medications or pharmaceuticals to help you through some of those feelings. It is just so easy. I can't even tell you how easy it is. It's like 10 drops lavender, 10 drops lemon, 10 drops peppermint, and fill the rest up with fractionated coconut oil. And you're going to rub it if you have an ongoing problem, you're going to want to do at least 2 times a day, but also keep it around for other kind of flare-ups, so to speak. You're going to do the bottoms of your feet, your wrists, and then many people that I know who struggle with this on a regular basis like to put a little bit right under their nose, just because it seems like it helps it kind of go into those passageways and clear up some of the watery eye issues and things like that. So if that's one of your struggles, you are definitely going to want to utilize that, and you just do it slightly more diluted if it's for kiddos. Okay, let me double check, make sure I told you guys all the big deals. Oh, you know, I don't know if we did. Okay, so this is one of the recipe sheets that I'm happy to send you guys through email if you want to ask for that. It's also available for members of my tribe. You can look at it through the Facebook group that I run. It's called Enamored with Nature Oil Education page. It is a public page, so I do let most people, you know, join in, even if they're not part of my my lovely village community, and because I just want to get the education out there. So that may be something that you want to look into joining, or again, just email me. And so if you want to get like ready for a screenshot, I can, you know, leave some of this up here for you for a second. And then the other thing is, okay, so I have the cleansing hand spray recipe on here, healing skin blend. That's for, you know, cuts, scrapes, bumps, bruises, rashes, skin irritation, stuff like that. We have a boosting immunity blend that you can make. And again, all these are ones that are very basic. You don't really have to buy a lot of stuff to be able to get some of these. Managing Moods blend, that's the one with the balance and wild orange. Calming and sleep is great. Seasonal soothing, and then I also have the testing time blend, which has the in tune balance, rosemary, and peppermint. So if these are some things that interest you, I'd love to be able to get this into your hands if you like. If you don't already have an account with doTERRA and you recognize that that's something that you need to be able to get not only a super high quality essential oil, but also want that community and to be able to get the education that you need and kind of have some coaches through being able to use that and becoming more empowered in that community. I would like to help you with that. If you were invited by somebody who knows me and things like that, just get back with that original person. Or if you're finding this just on YouTube and feel like you want to go ahead and pursue doing that, I would love for you to just reach out through enamoredwithnature@gmail.com. All right, I'm going to stay on for like 1 or 2 more minutes to see if any questions come in. And otherwise, I will just suspect that you'll connect with me through the other methods that I mentioned to you already. Let me also, let's see, I told you guys, I think I messed up also with one. I know I told you guys about the A to Z chewable vitamins. They're so cute. My family calls them circle vitamins, and they have a little smiley face on them. The IQ Mega is an omega-3 supplement, and this one is fantastic because I can put it in my kids' smoothies very, very easily. They have no idea, and it passes off so easy in smoothies. But I do also occasionally, if I want them to take more like directly, I'll just add a little bit of honey to it, or honestly, because it already has a little bit of the wild orange essential oil, it's not really that bad. Two out of three of my smaller kids will go ahead and take this just right off the spoon. But I forgot to mention the other thing that I think is super, super important is called the PB Assist Junior. Now, most of you guys know probiotics is kind of like big in the news these days, where everybody's like, yeah, it's all gut related. It's a gut issue. You know, when you have a good gut biome, then all these other things seem to fall into place. And so probiotics are pretty huge for that. The kids' form of the probiotic that doTERRA has is amazing. I mean, I could really talk for kind of a long time about that. It's encapsulated in like wish I had one here. I should have thought to bring it. So it comes out like pixie stick style, where it's like a little sachet, and you tear off the top, and all the good guys are encapsulated in, and so it doesn't even have to be refrigerated. But this specific delivery system that is patented by doTERRA is helping all of those good guys get into the right place, meaning like not just the small intestine, but also to the large intestine. Okay, so it goes through the stomach, into the small intestine, and then it kind of often gets stuck in the large intestine before things go out. You are definitely going to want to be supporting your kids' guts through that PB Assist. And I'll tell you, those stick vitamins, like we call them, so easy for your kiddos to take because they feel like a pixie stick, and then there's no bad flavor or whatever. Okay, so I'm not seeing any questions in the chat, and you guys do know how to get a hold of me. So I'm going to go ahead and jump off, but I wish you some very, very successful back-to-school adventures now that you're armed with this education. So have a fantastic day. We'll chat with you soon. Bye.